Welcome to the Explainer. Now, if you follow gaming hardware, you know the drill. For years, massive amounts of glue and those weird proprietary screws have been the absolute enemy of gamers, keeping closely guarded ecosystems totally locked down. But today, we're diving into this really fascinating intersection of international law and hardware engineering. We're going to look specifically at how regional regulations are actually forcing a massive global hardware redesign for Nintendo.
So what does it actually take to make a behemoth like Nintendo just abandon its established manufacturing processes and fundamentally alter the physical makeup of its next flagship console? Oh, and nearly all of its accessories too. Well, as you'll see, the answer isn't some crazy new technological breakthrough. It's actually just a stroke of the legislative pen.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The EU battery mandate. 2. Unsealing the Switch 2. 3. The weight of compliance. And 4. The global repairability ripple. Let's jump right into Section 1, the EU battery mandate, and that strict 2027 regulatory cutoff. Okay, so the European Union is heavily enforcing updated directives aimed squarely at reducing the environmental impact, disposal, and recycling of portable device batteries. Specifically, the EU Battery Directive of 2027 mandates that future portable devices sold in the region absolutely must support user-replaceable power cells. For the European market, this means the era of permanently embedded, totally sealed power systems is definitively over. Hardware manufacturers just can't lock batteries away behind walls of glue and proprietary barriers anymore.
Now, Nintendo isn't just sitting around waiting for the last possible minute. They're actually executing a highly proactive rolling rollout. Starting in the summer of 2026, the initial wave of revised hardware begins. Subsequent batches are then going to hit the market through the autumn and winter of 2026. All of this is basically a carefully orchestrated sprint to beat that strict EU regulatory cutoff hitting in mid-February 2027. It is worth noting that products already in circulation before this cutoff won't require modification, but anything manufactured for sale after that date, it has to comply. So, Nintendo is replacing existing stock on a rolling basis rather than attempting some chaotic, single-day market-wide swap.
Moving on to Section 2, Unsealing the Switch 2, which marks a totally new era for repair workflows.
This next part is going to bring sheer relief to anyone who has ever tried to repair modern electronics. The old paradigm was, quite frankly, a nightmare. We're talking a sealed chassis requiring heat guns to melt adhesive, hazardous battery solvents just to free the power cell, crazy complex microsoldering, and of course those notorious, incredibly frustrating custom tri-wing screws designed specifically to keep you out. The new approach? Simple, modular replacement, standardized screws, and essentially zero specialized tooling required. Nintendo explicitly states that this new design abandons the sealed chassis approach completely. No more custom screws, no more heat guns, no more solvents. For third-party repair shops and independent techs out there, this shift from battling adhesives to simple modular replacement is an absolute game changer.
All right, Section 3, the weight of compliance. Let's look at the measurable engineering trade-offs here.
Because, of course, a redesign like this comes with a literal physical cost. The Switch 2 console with the controller attached will actually see a weight increase of exactly 14 grams. Why? Well, moving to a modular battery system requires a slightly larger internal volume. The hardware stack-up now has to prioritize serviceability. That means reinforced chassis geometry to house a proper battery retention mechanism, plus the added weight of those new, standardized metal fasteners.
And directly tied to that slight weight gain and internal redesign is a capacity drop. Now, it's just a tiny 1% reduction in battery capacity, but this minute drop really highlights how internal components had to be completely reallocated. Space inside these devices is incredibly premium. So to fit the new retention mechanisms and revise the power management routing for a user-replaceable unit, engineers literally had to shave off a tiny fraction of the battery's overall size.
Which brings us to Section 4, the global repairability ripple. Let's see exactly which hardware is getting the update.
The scope of this whole thing is just massive. It's not just the upcoming Switch 2. The original Switch base model, the Switch Lite, and the OLED model are all getting updated. And it even extends to the Pro controller, the Retro NES, SNES, and Sega Mega Drive controllers, and yep, even the Pokémon Go++ accessory. Basically, if it has a battery and Nintendo sells it in Europe, it is getting an overhaul to meet that 2027 deadline. Interestingly enough, adjustments to the Joy-Con controllers are not confirmed yet, but they might very well be required under the exact same regulatory framework. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
Now, if you're a developer,
A hardware engineer or a peripheral maker integrating with Nintendo's ecosystem, here is your new action plan. Step 1. Monitor teardown procedures and spare part sourcing very closely. Those standardized fasteners and non-thermal battery releases change everything about how these units are opened and serviced. Step 2. Pay attention to firmware and power management profiles. While Nintendo hasn't published specific voltage adjustments just yet, that 1% capacity variance means power profiles definitely need to be checked. And step 3, verify your charging protocols and thermal paths. Changing internal layouts to accommodate new chassis geometry can significantly affect connector alignment and how heat dissipates inside the unit. Supply chains are already adjusting to this new baseline right now, so engineers really need to stay ahead of the curve.
I want to highlight this quote because it really captures the big picture perfectly. The shift toward user-replaceable batteries also signals a broader industry trend where repairability compliance will increasingly dictate mechanical design choices across consumer electronics. We are officially moving out of an era where aesthetics dictated form and stepping into an era where legal compliance dictates the mechanical design stack-up.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to ponder as the entire tech industry marches toward February 2027. Will repairability mandates finally kill the era of ultra-thin, sealed electronics for good? Think about it. If a giant like Nintendo has to add weight, reduce battery size, and revamp their entire manufacturing process just for Europe, how long is it until every other major tech manufacturer follows suit on a global scale? It's a truly fascinating shift in the landscape of consumer tech. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today, and I hope it gave you a really clear, structured look into the very near future of hardware design.